Hey everyone, Saul from Three Kingdoms Games here. Coming to you today with some huge news from Magic the Gathering. Now, I was going to do a video earlier last week because there was some early peeks at what they were going to be spoiling at San Diego Comic-Con with the Throne of Eldraine invitation, as well as I was going to talk about the Commander leak, but I figured I'm going to wait for the Commander stuff to be more fleshed out before I make a video about that. So back to the Throne of Eldraine. Now, for those of you who didn't see the invitation, you can see it here on the screen. It's this lovely purple invitation, talks about the Royal Courts of Eldraine. You get to see the set symbol for the first time, which is a sword with a flower replacing what would be the hilt and what looks like fairy wings. Very cool. Right away you get some of the ideas of what the set might be about. But then on the inside you have these whimsical looking fairies. It talks about the Throne of Eldraine. You see these vines in the background. So very fairy tale kind of vibe. So that's where I thought they were going to go with this, was like fairy tale epic fantasy kind of thing, which apparently they are. So later on that weekend, there was another press release. Now, I get one of the weekend days off from work normally. So my boss sent me a message on my day off saying I have to do a video about this new announcement from Magic the Gathering about the Throne of Eldraine. I didn't read the article yet by that point. So instantly stopped what I was doing to read the article. And I don't know where Wizards has gone with it. I think they've kind of lost their mind. Some of these announcements might be in a relation to this pending lawsuit over the Mythic Edition. So what the Throne of Eldraine is going to be the new set in October. It is going to pre-release at the last weekend of September. And it is a mashup of kind of high fantasy, Arthurian fantasy they make reference to, so Arthur and the Round Table, and Grimm's fairy tales. So already love it just on concept. Now, when we see it in practice, we're going to see how I feel about it, because I love the Grimm's fairy tales, I love horror, and I love high fantasy, mythology, things like this, like Arthurian legend. So I was wrong. I will say that from a few months ago, that I thought this would have been a Norse set. No, they went a different direction, but I do like the direction they went with. When I saw the fairy spoilers in that, I hoping fairy control isn't as degenerate as what Lorwyn fairy control was, but we will find out. Now, the first images we got to see of it were this image, which has what appears to be a Little Red Riding Hood kind of vibe to it, but it looks like Rowan Kenrith, last seen in Battlebond. So this might mean that we'll see her brother Will Kenrith, since they are originally from Eldraine. So hopefully that's who this is, and it isn't going to just be Chandra or one of the other Gatewatch, because it would be nice to see planeswalkers from new planes. So Rowan Kenrith on this kind of grim dark path. Really like the vibe of this. The other arts they showed was this one, which has this very twisted take on almost like the Lady in the Lake and Excalibur, for those of you who know Arthurian legend. So I kind of love the vibes of it. The color's really nice on this one. And I'm curious to see what this sword will be. Will it actually be an Excalibur-like weapon? Because if it is that huge, that's fantastic. And lastly, you have this gingerbread house in the middle of a twisted forest. So very Hansel and Gretel. This would be the witch's house, something to lure people in the middle of this dark twisted forest. Love the look and vibe of this card as well. So right there, we get a good idea from imagery of what they're going to try to deliver with Throne of Eldraine, being that twisted fairy tale meets high fantasy. So now, part of this article, which was called Booster Fun, I believe, which right away sent chills down my spine, because this can go one of two ways, either straight off a cliff whenever they talk about adjusting booster packs, or it's going to be something fantastic and new, and they kind of did both, and I don't know how, but more on that in a second. So last year, apparently, Wizards decompartmentalized further. Now, this is a very standard thing that larger companies do. What they did last year was apparently collapse what we know as Wizards R&D the art department and design teams, pretty much everything related to tabletop Magic, and put it under tabletop Magic. As well as there's a digital games and franchise departments now as well. So they're kind of separating them a bit further. Makes more sense just from a business perspective. Now, the first project that this new tabletop Magic division thought they needed to adjust was how to increase the fun for tabletop Magic. Now, the way they decided to do this was focusing on the booster pack, because the booster pack, as we know it, is something that's been around for 26 years. Every time you open a booster pack, you kind of have this excitement of, what will I get? Will I get my value back? Will I crack that card I was going for? There's that hunt, there's the desire for what you're trying to get. And that is part of the trap of Magic, which I love. Now, I do buy packs from time to time. I don't really play Standard much, but I still find myself buying packs from time to time, just because the thrill of opening something. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that are very much like me, where it's, you play things more like Commander, or Pauper, or other formats where you don't need to open current boosters, but you still crack them from time to time because it's kind of fun. And that's what Wizards is trying to tap into here. Now, are they going about it the right way? You'll see with these new products what they're doing and whether or not they are going the right way. Now, for this next part, since there's a lot of notes here, I'm just going to hold my notebook because trying to read it and constantly flip pages is going to drive me crazy. There'll be more spices in this freaking video than you need to see. Now, first thing they did was with Core 2020, they rolled it out, was that foils were increased. So it went from a 22.4% chance, so roughly a 1 in 4 booster pack chance, up to a 33.4% chance, meaning roughly 1 in 3 booster packs will contain foils. For those of you who like foils, that's huge. I, personally, not the biggest foil fan, but I see the appeal in them from a collector's perspective. With Eldraine, they'll also be introducing 3 new treatments for cards. These treatments are Borderless Planeswalkers. So these are the Planeswalkers that they've been doing for like Mythic Edition style art. So it will be a variant art of an existing Planeswalker with no borders. Very cool looking, great cards, generally speaking. Now, I'm curious to see how this will be applied. Will these only be standard legal Planeswalkers? Will it only be Planeswalkers that appear in Eldraine, which means they're going to have to increase the sheer volume of Planeswalkers in each set, if they're going to be doing that. Or, as we continue, they'll be doing extended art cards. So what that means is they're taking extended art, or an existing art, changing the aspect ratio and stretching it so it fits the entire card. We've seen this with the Ultimate Masters box toppers, and sometimes these look great, and other times the arts just don't work for this kind of card. So I'm curious to see which arts they pick and how this will change. And the last one, which is a catch-all term they're using now, which is showcase frames. So it's any odd frame, essentially, that is a variant of an existing card. So they give you some examples of these new frames. Here, you can see what the original looks like. So you can also kind of see a look into the new mechanic of this set with this page thing. I'm going to assume what it's going to be is something similar to Sagas, where it starts on one side and moves to the other side based off you paying something or changing your effect. Something like that, similar to Monstrous and other effects they've used in the past. So curious to see how this is going to roll out with the actual set. And here is the showcase frame version of that same card. You can see more ornate frame, more of the background image around this character. So pretty cool. Again, we will see how some of these showcase frames roll out. I'm sure under this catch-all term, you also get stuff similar to like promo frames, things like that. Now, for products for Eldraine, there's a lot of products being released in affiliation with Eldraine. Now, first up is the Draft Booster. So this is just the renamed booster pack. It's what we already know. Now, booster packs for Eldraine will contain 1 rare or mythic, 3 uncommons, 10 commons, 1 land, 1 token, and there is a chance for a foil Borderless Planeswalker and a foil and/or foil showcase card. that's pretty cool that they can come out with regular boosters. So it's kind of like Masterpiece level. I don't know what the pull rates on these are going to be. I'm going to assume the pull rate's going to be very, very low on them. So it will be something similar to that of a Masterpiece. There'll be the theme boosters. This is something we already know. We've seen these since Guilds of Ravnica. They contain 35 cards, and they're usually based around either color pairings, like in the Ravnica block, or single colors. So you can get a booster completely designed around a specific color if that's something you want to play. The idea of these things is that you get 35 cards, you can jam in 25 lands, and you pretty much have a makeshift starter deck ready to go. Now these will contain 1.1 rares. Now I find this interesting because this is actually a little bit of a drop from the original ones, but 1.1 rares, I'll get to the 0.1 in a second. 33 to 34 commons and uncommons. The ratio of these will be different from pack to pack. And one reference card. Again, it's like a starter, so the reference is just to kind of help you out. Now, that 1.1 rare means 1 in 10 of these theme boosters will contain 2 rares. 2 rares and or mythics, I should say. Now, that's pretty cool. They're going to be rolling out a brand new booster pack as well with this. And this is the booster pack that's getting most people's feathers ruffled because of what they're doing with it. To some people, this seems like a cash grab. To other people, this seems just like a logical progression to the game of Magic. Now, what this is the Collector's Booster. They've yet to spoil the art for it. It will contain 15 cards. These are aimed at collectors, is what they're saying. Now, here's the thing. TCG players by nature are collectors. Everyone who plays a TCG wants to collect on some scale or another. Whether or not it's I want to collect all the big hit cards or I want to collect everything in the set. On some level, if you play TCGs, you want to collect stuff. So saying that this is just aimed at collectors, I find vaguely insulting to all the non-collectors out there. Now, what these will contain, and this is the product that I'm referring to as totally not a response to the Mythic Edition debacle that we just went through months ago, because they've yet to announce if there's going to be a Mythic Edition for Eldraine. If there is, cool. If there isn't, we know why. Now, these will be apparently a limited print run, so we'll find out on that one exactly how limited that print run is. It will contain 15 cards and 1 foil token. Now, the contents of this pack will contain 1 rare or mythic with extended art. So an existing art from the set that's rare or mythic, not variant, but extended to take up the full frame. 1 foil rare or mythic from the set. Again, very straightforward on what that is. It's a rare or mythic from the set that is foil. 9 foil commons or uncommons. Again, ratio will vary from pack to pack, but 9 foil commons and or uncommons, because all those collectors out there love foil commons and uncommons, I am sure. 3 special frame cards. So these will be non-foil showcase or borderless planeswalker cards. So these specifically will be non-foil. The foil ones are in the draft packs. 1 ancillary card. I will get to that in a second. And 1 foil token. Now, these packs are going to be roughly listed. They mentioned the the MSRP for USD is going to be $20 to $25 a pack. So for those of us in Canada, that's going to be expensive. In general, $20 to $25 a pack for what you're getting in that pack. It's really going to come down to what you crack, if the value's there or not. Now, ancillary cards are a pool of cards that aren't available in the regular draft boosters. They are part of the set, but they are not in the set, if that makes any sense. It's like how Planeswalker deck specific cards or buy box promos are technically part of the set, but they exist outside the realm of the draft pack. So that's what these cards are. They're going to be the buy a box, the Planeswalker deck, and Brawl deck unique cards. Yes, you just heard me correct. Brawl, the thing that had only 12 people show up at GP Vegas and 1 person show up at another GP, is getting a big push from Wizards. Now, maybe this is what Brawl needed all the time. Because when Wizards comes out and says, here's a new format, use it, but doesn't give us support or direction, it is really hard for those formats to take hold. This way, now that there's going to be 4 unique decks for Brawl that will contain 60 cards, and there will be 7 mechanically unique cards per deck, that will be interesting. Now, here's the kind of catch-22 they've just worked themselves into. If any of these mechanically unique cards are format warping for standard, since everything in the collector's booster should be standard legal, they have just turned Magic into, if you can pay more money, you will win. And yes, to a degree, I know Magic has been that way for a while in the competitive scene. If you want to compete, you need to buy the big cards. The fact that they're making it that you have to buy specific products to compete is not going to go over well with a lot of the gaming community, and I can guarantee you that. Now, along with this article, the next day came out an article about these Brawl decks in better detail. So, there's going to be 4 Brawl decks. Each are only going to have 1 legendary in it. They're not doing the 3 legendaries since it's only 60 cards they have to play with and not the 100 cards that Commander products have to play with. They also gave us a look at 2 of the cards. So one of them is Arcane Signet, as you can see here. It is a 2-mana artifact. You can tap it to produce 1 color of anything in the color identity of your commander. Now, if this appears in the actual set, this is completely useless for you, because in Draft and in other formats, you don't actually have a commander. But from a commander perspective, which I do play, I think this card's amazing for any multicolor commander deck, even in monocolor decks, so you can get those multicolor effects off easier. 2 for 1, not horrible in the realm of mana rocks, so I think overall, pretty decent card. Also, they showed us the first of the legendaries, and that is, sorry, let me refer to it, Shulane, Teller of Tales. He's a 5 CMC, 2/4, vigilant human druid. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you get to draw a card and then play a land. You can pay 3, tap him to return a creature you control to its owner's hand. So right there, it's going to be a Bant value ETB deck. I can see that. And it's going to be interesting. Now, Brawl, the other test for Brawl is really going to be that first major rotation from when these Brawl decks come out. Are people going to want to invest in 4 new decks for a format that rotates? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I know as a Commander player, these give me more options. And definitely you can see where they are trying to, I don't want to say take advantage because that sounds really bad, but they're trying to make better use of all these Commander players out there that want more products, more support for Commander, and just more in general from Wizards. And I think this is a really smart and yet dangerous idea, if you know what I mean, because it's another product for people to buy, and this could lead to, for lack of a better word, wallet fatigue, where people have been spending too much money on too many things and they're not sure what to buy, so they buy less in general. Now, that might not happen. People might love these things. These might sell out everywhere. Like the first Commander decks are impossible to find at this point. So I'm curious to see where this is going to go. When it comes to these things, I don't know whether I want to condemn or commend Wizards on what they're doing. They're clearly trying to listen to the player base. They're clearly trying to listen to stories, because if these collector's packs are in place of Mythic Edition, they are now putting more faith back in the local game stores, which has been wavering a little bit over the last few years with Magic. So this is really cool if that is the case. If it isn't, and they still do a Mythic Edition, I don't know what to say about these collector's packs, because at the same time, there's a lot of people out there who can't necessarily drop tons of money on Magic who are collectors, so these might not go over well. There's also just a lot of products being released in association with the Eldraine set, because we have the draft boosters, the theme boosters, the bundles, the Planeswalker decks, the collector's boosters, the Brawl decks. So we're at 6 items already, all associated with this new set, which sounds amazing. I will give them that. Eldraine right now, I'm hearing a lot of hype from my regulars about, because it just seems like a really cool set. So I hope it lives up to the hype. I hope it lives up to that in actual practice. But the sheer volume of products that are coming out might intimidate some people. But you might also get some new players because there's now a new precon out there with Brawl decks existing. So, tell me what you think. Is Eldraine a cool idea? How do you feel about these new collector's packs? What do you think about Brawl as a format? Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Easy way to support us in everything we do. Don't forget to hit the little notification icon in the corner so you don't miss any content as it comes out. You can follow us on all major social media, that's in the description box below. See what's going on in stores by following us on Facebook, as well as you can always drop in. There's one in Markham and one in Toronto. I'll see you next time.